Now, you probably already know this story, but let me recap it anyway. Last April, a trailer for a Sonic the Hedgehog movie dropped where the main character, Sonic of course, had been rather radically redesigned from what he looked like in the long-standing video game franchise, and there was an immediate response from the fans letting them, the film creators, know they weren't happy about the look, to put it mildly. This then prompted the film's director, Jeff Fowler, to tweet out, "Thank you for the support and the criticism. The message is loud and clear. You aren't happy with the design and you want changes, it's going to happen." And they basically went back to the drawing board with the character's design, or should I say back to his traditional look. And a few months later, we got a new trailer where Sonic looked more like, well, he looked more like Sonic the Hedgehog. And because of this, there was much rejoicing, not only from the fans of Sonic, but by others who think fans should be respected and have at least some sort of voice when long-running or established franchises are used. And though the movie just comes out today, the end result here seems to be a good one for everyone involved. Movie reviews have been positive, most fans seem to be happy, and the movie is projected to do quite well at the box office. However, this has once again reignited the argument of fan entitlement versus artistic freedom, and I've seen a couple articles over the past few days that suggest what happened with Sonic is a bad precedence to set, that it ultimately destroys creative freedom and will lead many franchises to ruin if they try to heed the wishes of the fans and always give them what they want, which they feel will lead to stagnation and eventual death for the franchise, since of course creators will be unable to do anything new with the property and to keep it fresh. Most of these articles then cite the backlash to Star Wars The Last Jedi and how Lucasfilm and Disney followed that with, as they describe it, a fan service heavy The Rise of Skywalker, a movie that, according to them, was exactly what we fans wanted and was an apology for Episode 8, one we didn't deserve, of course, because, again, according to them, so many of us, most of us, attacked the actors involved, attacked actresses like Kelly Marie Tran, which is an interesting discussion for another time, perhaps. Anyway, the critics saying in one breath that the backlash to The Last Jedi was only a very small, angry, vocal minority, and then in the next insisting they were catered to with The Rise of Skywalker, gets a chuckle out of me. Because if The Rise of Skywalker proves two things, it's that, yes, Lucasfilm and Disney did take the backlash to The Last Jedi very seriously, and thought it was more than a few angry fans. And it also proved that they really have no clue what we fans want, because they aren't looking for fan service heavy fan fictions, which in a lot of ways is what The Rise of Skywalker felt like. And what these companies don't seem to understand or fully grasp, nor do these critics writing these articles, is that fans aren't looking for blatant fan service. They're looking for respect, or should I say, for the properties they love to be respected. They're fine with Luke Skywalker being human in a movie. They're fine with him still having some struggles to overcome. They'd be just fine if he wasn't portrayed as absolutely perfect. But many of them don't want to see him so far gone, so different from what he was last we saw him, that he's tossing away his father's lightsaber and advocating for the Jedi to end, all the while drinking warm green milk straight from the teat, while just wanting to die, because he's so broken apart about almost murdering his nephew in his sleep. And they also find it a little frustrating to hear how real Luke is in that movie, but when they complain about other problems or plot holes in that film, they get told it's a kid's movie and you're overanalyzing and taking it too seriously. Anyway, the real issue here, I feel, is that if you're going to play in the sandbox of others, if you're going to make a movie like Star Wars or Sonic the Hedgehog even, that has a long-standing fan base, you simply do not have full creative freedom. And why would you? You're not coming up with everything all on your own. You're using the work of others, or building upon it, or trying to carry it forward. And though sure, Disney may own the rights to Star Wars, they can technically do whatever the hell they want with it. I can't argue against that. If you stray too far, if you change so many things or too many things that fans love about something, it's not going to feel like the same thing to them anymore. It's instead going to feel like an insult to the name of what they love. And if a writer, director, or whatever the case may be doesn't like that, if they don't like having their creative freedom infringed upon, don't work in a pre-established franchise. Make your own new and unique thing. Create the next Star Wars or next Marvel or whatever else. Because the thing is, those properties didn't just come out of thin air. There was a time when not a single person in the world had heard of Star Wars because George Lucas hadn't even thought of it yet. But over time, it has become what it is today. Why? Because of the fans who supported it, the fans who spent money on it. And no, I don't mean to take any credit away from George Lucas or the countless other people who worked on Star Wars over the years. I'm simply saying without the fans and their money, it never gets to the point where it is today, and without their continued support, it will die out. It's part of the equation so many seem to leave out when talking about creative freedom versus entitlement in franchises like Star Wars. It all comes down to the money. In some respect, in some capacity, these movies have to be made for the fans, or you're going to lose them. Like I said, you can't just do whatever you want, or it won't be Star Wars anymore to them. And they'll stop funding it by no longer going to the theaters to see it, or by buying any of the merchandise. And let's be real about it. Disney bought Lucasfilm to sell Star Wars to the fans, and to hopefully make some new ones along the way, of course. They bought it because they knew it had a large existing customer base, maybe the largest of any franchise in the world, who would eagerly buy the product. They're trying to sell these movies and tons of merchandise to us, the fans. So don't be surprised when the fans, the customers, rise up and say, we don't want to spend our money on this. Don't be mad at them for rejecting something they were all but expected to buy, something that was trying to be sold directly to them. Don't talk about artistic freedom when they're the ones trying to use a property to make money, when they could just as easily make something completely new and try to sell that and not have to worry one bit about pleasing an existing fan base. But selling something original is hard when you don't have that existing fan base to guarantee any sales. In other words, they're trying to take the safe route and are upset that it's not being automatically consumed or consumed without question. And they're even trying to play the victim card to some extent here. I mean, why in this instance do customers have no say in the matter? Why is this the only business, or pretty much only business, where customer feedback is supposed to be ignored and rejected or thought inferior to what a professional critic says? Hell, most critics don't even pay a dime to see the movies they review. And the really funny thing is, when fans or customers are happy with something, they'll gladly spend their money on it and keep coming back for more. And don't even try to come at me with that nonsense that Star Wars fans are impossible to please when the vast majority love a show like The Mandalorian, which is a show unlike anything we've gotten out of Star Wars before. It's truly a new idea, and not by taking an old character and going a new direction with them. And on your screen now, you can see the results of a poll I did not too long ago, which was overwhelmingly positive. And before you say, well, you're a Star Wars channel, of course those who watch your videos are going to like it. I often get called a hater channel, and those who watch my videos often get accused of being totally biased against everything Disney Star Wars. So in reality here, these results are even more astounding and really goes to show how fans can and will love something new, as long as it respects what came before. And that's really the key here. It's all about respect. Fans don't need or want or even demand Star Wars to be run exactly how they want, no matter what you hear some articles try to claim. They just want Star Wars handled by people who have the same level of care, commitment, and regard for it that they do. And that goes for any long-standing property out there. I mean, just look at Marvel or the MCU. The stories that the movies tell are oftentimes loosely based off the comics, and at times they'll even make a rather huge departure from what a character or story was. Yet, you don't hear too many complaints from Marvel fans. Why? Because for the most part, they feel like the property they love is being respected, not just bastardized to make a quick buck. And I think thus far, it's the perfect example of how to treat a property and make everyone involved happy. How to do it so that everyone gets what they want. You have the fans who get great stories that respect the source material. You have the creators who love what they're working on, and you have the shareholders at the end of the rainbow who get the money that they care about. When done right, it's a perfect little symbiotic circle. And to be clear here, I'm not saying you never ever do something to shake things up or surprise fans with a big twist that they may not necessarily love. You do have to keep them on their toes with the story. I'm only saying that there is a very fine line to walk here. Because no, you don't want to give the fans so much power that things end up becoming stagnant, that you're so afraid to try something new that you keep recycling something and your franchise eventually dies, or that you listen to them every single time and soon they begin to expect their every whim to be met. I'm only saying that for many fans, Star Wars is bigger to them than just a series of movies. And if you want their money, if you want to keep them as customers, you do have to listen to them to some extent. You can't just let someone come in and completely rewrite a character and be surprised that some people don't want to buy your product anymore, all the while you stand by and say nothing when some in the media make terrible, misguided assumptions about why some fans don't like a movie. And as I've said before, I do understand companies don't like to admit mistakes, but a simple statement from the likes of Kathleen Kennedy herself saying she understands what it was about The Last Jedi some fans didn't like, but that they thought it was a good creative decision and they're going to stand by it, would have at least been something. I mean, just imagine if the creators of the Sonic the Hedgehog movie had either said nothing after the backlash to the first trailer, or even went so far as to say, this is what we're going to do, and if you don't like it, so be it. How well do you think that film would be doing in the theaters this weekend? So to be blunt about it, keeping a franchise running indefinitely isn't going to be easy. There has to be give and take on both sides. At times they, the creators and those who own the property, need to pay attention to what the fans are saying, to give us what we're asking for, essentially. And at other times, fans have to accept that they will try new things in an effort to keep the property fresh and new that might not work or resonate with everyone. Again, the problem with The Last Jedi, I feel, was just no sort of communication from the other side until they gave us The Rise of Skywalker, which wasn't the apology many of us were looking for. And though they didn't have to go the Sonic route, they didn't have to come out and say, we're going to fix everything for you, some sort of acknowledgement, I think, would have gone a long, long way to stemming some of the backlash to that movie. Well, that's all I've got for you this time. Now it's your turn to tell me what you think. Do you feel fans are too entitled these days, or are we customers who deserve to have a voice? Whatever you think, leave a comment below and let's talk some Star Wars. And until next time, thanks for watching.